So, hello everyone. Hola a todos. Welcome to a new streaming. Let's wait a little bit. I'm not sure how many people is connected, but we will start very soon. Today, some days ago, if I remember well, I posted a tweet with a poll on Twitter asking what do you want to see today in this streaming with different options. One of them was see the latest features included in the latest version, in the latest preview version of Xamarin.Forms, Xamarin.Forms 4.6 pre-4. Other option was see state triggers. I love that many people wanted to see also state triggers. And then I included other option with other topic. And in other topic, I also received many feedback and comments on Twitter with stuff like see desktop support with Xamarin.Forms, see the upcoming shapes features, talk about behaviors, talk about adaptive UI using Xamarin.Forms. This is a very nice topic too. And where there was more topic, like other one was try to continue binding the Fluent UI from the iOS and Android libraries and continue implementing this stuff in Xamarin.Forms. But today we will put the focus on the latest features included in Xamarin.Forms 4.6. So let's start it. Just a quick question to the people connected in the chat, please. Can you say if you can hear me without problems? I want to be sure that the audio is working fine. If anyone can just write that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah, as we talked before, on some days ago I put this tweet where I asked what do you want to see today, and with a lot of votes, I'm surprised by the number of votes. The first option that you choose was see the latest features in Xamarin.Forms 4.6. Today we will see that. At the end of this streaming, I want to talk and review this topic again, because probably what I will do for next week is just release a new poll with different options from all these topics, and probably topics from the Twitch chat, and allow to choose again what do you want to see on next week. But this will be later. Let's start with the topic for today. I don't know if you know this page from the Xamarin documentation. Is available in docs and the name is release note. If you search by Xamarin.Forms release note, probably you will find this document very easy, and it's very nice because you can filter by different Xamarin.Forms versions. So if you want to see, hey, what was included in Xamarin.Forms 3.6, so you can see here all the version including all the previews, and you can see easily what was included in any of this version. Something ago, what we included in this release notes is the link and the title of the enhancement or the fix of some issues. But in the latest versions, we are also including very nice stuff like this. Look at this. This is beautiful. Is the main functionality included in the version is included with a short explanation with some notes about how to use or how work this new functionality. So in the latest version of Xamarin.Forms, we included many diverse and many interesting stuff. Of course, we included multiple bug fixes I will mention that, but today I will put the focus on mainly 4 or 5 topics. One of them will be app-dem support. How many of you was waiting for that? Probably many of you. You know, you can change, and today all the platforms, Android, iOS, UWP2, can swap between the dark and light modes, and it's interesting and it's necessary in our Xamarin.Forms application to be able to detect when this change and also be able to adapt the way depending on if the system or the application is using the dark or the light mode. We'll put the focus on this later. Also, we'll talk about C# markup extensions. So today, well, from the beginning in Xamarin.Forms, you can create a user interface using XAML, but also you can create a user interface using C#. Lately, probably you have heard about Blazor native project that allow another option to create a user interface. But what this is including is several number of extension methods that allow to create the user interface in a fluid mode more easily. We will create probably a project with live code creating the same user interface. I don't know, probably a login page will work fine. And we will see how to create the login page using XAML, how to create with the traditional mode using C# code, and also using this new stuff, this new C# markup extensions. Then we also have the ready button. Oh, probably many of you waited for this control for a long time too. So yeah, we included recently checkbox, and now we are including also ready button. Probably very soon we will release new features related with this stuff, because just today I have seen a PR including more options to customize these controls and all the stuff, but today we will take a look to the functionality included in this version. And also was released a expander control. We'll take a look in detail to this control later, and many other stuff related with bug fixing. So we will review the main or the more important bug fixes in this version. So we need to start for some of these points. I don't know what is your favorite, but I will start probably with the expander control, because I really like this new control. So what's the expander control? So the expander control is a new view that you can use in Xamarin.Forms to allow to have a content that can be expandable. So you can expand or contract again this content, as you can see in this GIF. The main API is this lines that you can see here. These are the main properties. So there are a header property where you can define the header of the expander, and there are of course another view to define the content. Then you can manage and be able to customize what is the behavior when you are expanding or contracting this control with hissing function and the animation length, the animation duration in both cases. And then we are able to know what is the current status with the is expanded property. It's a boolean, true or false, is expanded or not, and the expander state that give more details about if the control is expanded or not, or if it's expanding or collapsed, and all this stuff. To see with more details all the expander controls, I will open up a existing project. Let me search where I have this project, but I will open up existing project using this new control. I'm not searching where I have the project, but is this one. So we will see how to create this very beautiful design that you can find in Driver by Hila Pelek that we replicated using Xamarin.Forms in a easy way using this expander control. So the name of the project is Open List, and let me open it. Okay, opening the project. While I open the project, remember that if you have any question, any suggestion, anything that you want to share with me or with others, just use the chat. I'm pending and reading the comments in the chat. First of all, this stuff, this new functionality as other, is released with the experimental flag. Probably many of you know very well what means and how to use the experimental flag. But that means that we release a new functionality that is not closed. And with it's not closed, I mean that we continue investing and trying to improve the control. And also the API is not defined, it's not closed. So we are hearing all your feedback. We are having some internal meetings and talking about all this stuff to continue improving. And maybe something like, I don't want to say that this will happen, but maybe something like the tapped event could change for other more specific name like expanded or collapsed or other kind of stuff. So that means that this is experimental, and to use it, you need to use the setFlagged method at the beginning of every native project. In the case of Android, you need to use the set flags on the main activity. With the expander experimental flag, the same happens on the app delegate on the case of iOS. Let me launch very quickly this sample on Android and iOS. Let me start with Android. Use compiling. We will see first what we have here, how it works, and then later we will see the code in details and explain every important part of the code. So yeah, as we have seen before, we have a shopping list, and we have main categories like, hey, buy fruits, buy fish, meat, etc. And when we tap over one of the categories, like fruits, we span all the internal elements that we have inside fruits with, and we can see the content of the expander, because at the end what we are using here is a different number of expander. This is an expander, this other, every category is an expander, and we are defining this part that is the header of the expander, and the internal list is just the content of the expander. So of course the same functionality is available in other platforms. I have shown how it works in Android, but of course it's working also in iOS. Let me launch very quickly the iPhone simulator, and this will be perfect to have it ready for future demos. So yeah, it's the same, it's working in the same way. And now, yeah, let's take a look to the code. So we have a main view. Please, if you want to increase the font size of anything, just write some comment in the chat. So what we have here is, first of all, let me launch the sample again. We want that if there are more content that is available in the available size of the screen, we want to allow to scroll. And for that, we start with the scroll view that involve a stack layout. The stack layout is stacking all the expanders elements that we have here, where we have defined some basic properties related with the behavior when you are opening, expanding or collapsing the expander. You can use here any of the hissing function that sits in Xamarin.Forms today. I'm using the most basic one, that is linear. And then I have a expanded property binded to a property. This is very important and we will talk about that later. But then we define the header. Let's take a look to the header. In the header, we have an icon. We are using an image for that icon. And for this border with corner radius, we probably could use something like a box view, but in this case I'm using an external plugin from Steven, in this case Pancake View. I know that probably many of you also know it, and if not, please take a look to it, because it's very interesting. It's a good control. So then when I expand, we are seeing here a list of other elements. What we are doing here is, let's close the header, and now all this content is the content. For the content, we are using a stack layout, using again bin.w layout to bind to a collection of sub-items or items associated with this category. The most interesting part, or the most complex thing related with the sample, is the effect when we are closing and expanding, and mainly related with the stuff related with the with the Pancake View, or this border around the category icon. And for that, what we are doing is the following. In the header, we define a Pancake View here that will change depending of one property state. And what will be this property? If it's expanded or not. If sorry, we are in the wrong Pancake View, is this one. If the tail is visible, that remember that we bind to is expanded. So if it's expanded, we will change the style applied to the Pancake View. And mainly what we will change, if we have the expander collapsed, we'll apply corner radius to all the corners. And if not, we only will apply corner radius to the top corners. We'll not apply corner radius in the bottom, because what we'll use is, we will have another Pancake View in the detail that will fit and will continue the visual effect mixing with the other one to keep this effect. And also all the content will grow with when we are expanding, and also this Pancake View will grow when we are expanding. So with that, we get this effect in a very easy way. The only thing that we are using here is data triggers. Data triggers to change mainly the style of the Pancake View, if the expander is expanded or not. So this is the main stuff related with the expander. Remember, we have the header where we can define a view. We have also another view for the content. We can manage the behavior when we are expanding or collapsing, not only the hissing, also the animation duration. And we can manage and know if the expanded is expanded or not with the is expanded property. There are other stuff that I'm not using in this specific sample, but you can see this stuff here in the spec, where you can see that we have also events, like when the expander is tapped or not. We also have commands, and we have also other properties related with the state, not only if it's expanded or not, if it's expanding, it's not. And the last thing important related with the expander is you can create the content in this way, is what I'm doing here in this sample. This will be the non-lazy approach, but if you want to do a lazy initialization of the content, you can use the content template property and just use other template. So easy. Another interesting thing about this control is that all the implementation is 100% cross-platform. So everything is in core. Any platform that supports animations and layouts and other basic stuff will have support to use the expander, and that means that, if I'm not wrong, probably all the platforms will include support to this. I need to test this expander in platforms like GTK and other ones, but probably it's working. Okay, good. So let's move to another stuff. In this case, we will talk about radio button. So let me close the latest project and open a new one. Okay, let me search between all the projects. Where are you? So in this case, I want to use this project. It's also available on GitHub. So the previous project, you can find it in my user account, and the name of the project is shopping list. In this repository, you can find the previous sample, where mainly we use bindable layout, expander control, triggers, data triggers. And now I'm going to use this other playground, that is radio button playground, where we will see all the main properties and events that you can use today in this latest preview. So let me launch. We always will do this in existing projects. I will launch it in the simulator or emulator to see what we have here, and then we'll take a look to the code. Remember, if you have any feedback, any question, wherever, you can use the chat. Okay, radio button. So probably you are seeing what you expected. Yeah, we have here 3 radio buttons, and now when I change one of them from checked to other one, what we are seeing is the event that has happened. So what happens? Well, we checked blue, so the checked chain event of the radio buttons was fired because we will uncheck the red radio button to check the blue one. Then also the checked chain for the blue one. We have also clicked event, so I clicked on the blue, so for that I have the clicked. And at the end I'm showing the state of all the radio buttons, that false is not checked, true is checked, and false, again the green radio button is not checked. Let's take a look to this feature. Again, in this preview, when we release a new functionality like this in a preview, we include the experimental flag. So to use this control, you need to use the radio button experimental flag. And let's take a look to the view. So what are the main properties? The main properties are, you can define a radio button with a text. Of course, you can use without text too. You can customize the text color of the radio button. I know that we are working to also allow with a property to customize the radio, the color of the radio button. Not 100% sure about the naming. I think that is radio color, but it's not available today, but will be available in upcoming versions. So yeah, you can define a test, you can customize the test color, is checked or not, and this is important, this is a group name. Probably you have seen the same property in other frameworks. If you want to group different radio buttons, and when I check one of them, automatically uncheck the others, you can set a group name and assign the same group. And then of course we have events. The clicked event, that is used when the control is clicked, and the checked chain will be fired when the control, the radio button is checked or when is unchecked. And that's what we have seen before in Android, and now I just show you the same on iOS. By the way, it's also available on Windows in UDP. I'm now running macOS, can launch Windows and show you the same on UDP, but I think that with Android and iOS will be for now enough. Okay, compiling. While compiling, taking a look to the chat. Okay, no comments for now. Remember that you can comment anything. I'm just checking that all the last comment appears in the screen always. I think that we'll change that to disappear all this stuff, all this message after, I don't know, 10 seconds or whatever. Sorry, I noticed that now. Oh, I launched it in a device. Sorry. Let me launch the simulator. For that was taking some time. Yeah, the same behavior that we have seen before, right? Okay, this is other of the new functionality available in the latest preview. So as we have seen until now, are two new views, two new controls. I think that radio button was very expected for a long time ago, and Expander is very interesting because covers some common scenarios in some mobile application designs, in some mobile application patterns. So yeah, I think that are two very interesting additions. Now let's move to other one that also is very expected. Again, this is in preview. To use it also you need to use an experimental flag, and that means that we still continue working on that. Not sure if Gerald is still connected in the chat, but he's still continue improving and adding new functionality to this stuff. This sample, you can find the sample in my GitHub AppDem playground. So if you want to play with AppDems, open this sample. Let me launch the sample. For example, in Android. Deploying. Here we go. So I know what is your feeling now. Yeah, I know this sample don't looks amazing. I'm creating a good looking UI sample working with this stuff of thems, But in this case, what I want to share is the main and basic stuff that was included with appdems. And let's see what we have here using the code. So we included a new type of color called appdem color. Appdem color have two properties, light, where you can define the light color, and dark, where you can define the dark color. In our sample, this color is dark red and not light pink because I'm using, as you can see here, the like them. So we can use this color in a easy way, like other resource. Text color, dynamic resource, temp color, that is this resource. You can use exactly the same using styles. So I only have here a setter, modifying one of the properties, that is of course the text color of the label, but of course you can include here more properties like, I don't know, the font size, the font family, and all this stuff. What happened in this case that you have a new markup extension called onAppDen that allow to define the default color and the light and dark one. In this case, we are using the style in this way. You can define the same inline. For example, label, text color, onAppDen, arguments of kind color, light and dark. And the last one is about events, because this is in a very easy way to define different results and split our colors. And of course, well, this also can be used with, for example, image. If you want to use a different image in light color, in light them, and in dark them, you will use something very close to this, but of course the type will not be a color. And like here, I'm using a string to show if we are on the light them or the dark them. So this is very interesting and it's very useful to adapt our UI in a easy way based on the den of the system, if we are using the light den or the dark den. But we also want our application to be able to update, and we are able to detect when a change in the den happens. And for that, what we have included is, in application, we have a requested dem change. It's a new event that you can use in this way, where in the arguments that are of kind appden change event args, you can get the requested dem property, where you will get directly the appden that is being used by the system. In this way, you can get if the dem is the light dem or the dark dem, and also you can, of course, in this way, apply change dynamically based on the change of the dem. So this is what we have actually. And we continue working, and probably you will see new improvements in upcoming versions. I don't want to detail too much about that today, because I'm not 100% sure if everything is 100% defined or can change a little bit, so I don't want to explain something that could change. But you can just start playing or using this stuff today with the latest preview. And of course, you can wait for more nice stuff related with dems in coming versions. Let me repeat the same, but this is an experimental stuff. So to use it, you must set the flags at the beginning of every native project. And in this case, the experimental flag is appden experimental. Okay, new people in the chat. Hi, Steven. You're a little bit later because I use show a sample using PancakeView. You know, it's always amazing to show a little bit of PancakeView, but you're right later. And Jorge, you like this new functionality. I'm not sure if you're talking about radio buttons, expander, or if you are loving this new stuff related with appdems. But if you want to share what is your more expected or your more lovely functionality, just share in the chat. Okay, so I have talked about the expander control. We have seen a very beautiful sample using this new expander control. We have talked that was this one from this design. Then we play a little bit with radio buttons, taking a look to the main properties and main events included in the new control. And now we have taken a look to appdems. That is also other of the new functionality included in the latest preview. Now I want to mention other of the new functionality that is not detailed, like, you know, appdem support and other stuff, is in the list of all the enhancement and fixes that we have done in this latest preview. Not sure if I will be able to find it in a easy way, but let me try it. Yeah, no, it's not this one. Yeah, it's this one. So I don't know how many of you use bindable layouts. If you remember, in the expander control we was using bindable layouts, and one of the most interesting stuff in collection view is that include empty view property that allow you to use a view or use a template to show anything when there are in content, there are in any items with the item source binded to the collection view. We have the same property also in carousel view, for example. And this is very nice because avoid us to create, you know, the all stuff that you don't have done, creating a converter, inversible converter, and if the items count is higher than 0, then I show this, and if not, I hide and show this other view. So we haven't this stuff in bindable layouts until now, because in the latest preview we included also the empty view or empty view template in bindable layout. So to see that, I had this very old, 50 months old sample that I just updated to show you how we can use the empty view, in this case using with the bindable layout. So let me download again this sample, and let's see how we can use empty view with bindable layout. Okay, as always, when I open an existing project, I will launch it to show you what we have here, and then I will move to the code. Now, while this is compiling, let me take a look to the comments. And Jorge loved the last one, that is mainly appdems. Yeah, appdems is a very expected functionality. I think that probably more than radio button, and I have seen some requests about radio button. But the shopping list, for me, this control is important. You can do a lot of things. And empty view, you can change the view depending on result. For example, start the view, you show a test, and if you press a like a button or something, check the name. For example, filters. Yeah. Yes, actually, in this case, what we have here in the all sample that you can see here in the GIF is, come on to scroll, is a beautiful gallery. For this beautiful gallery, what we are using is, let me move to the XAML, a bindable layout, in this case using a flex layout. Flex layout is a easy way to do that because allow us to wrap the content and also have some items with different size. In this case, we're using CSS styles to set 3 different kinds of pictures with 3 different aids. That is what we have here in the GIF. Come on. Yeah. And what is happening now is that when we bind this to the gallery, if we don't have any item in the gallery, or the gallery is null, for example, we can define now something like this: empty view, label, no image. That is what we are showing here. So yeah, it's working in the same way that probably you have seen before in collection view or carousel view, but for me it's very interesting because I know that many of you love bindable layout because solve in a easy way many situations, and probably this case is interesting to cover one of the pending stuff that we have related with bindable layout. Cool. Oh no, Jorge. Don't sorry for your English because then I must sorry for mine. So yeah, I know that you speak Spanish and you are doing an effort to use the English. I appreciate that because using English, the rest of the people in the chat also will be able to read easily your comments and will get all your feedback, and it's an interesting way to to share opinions and stuff between all of us. But don't sorry about that because probably my English is not better than you, and just continue trying, improving, and don't sorry about that. Okay, so again I move to the beginning, to the release notes, where we have seen the uptime support, we have seen the radio button, we have seen expander control, but here we are explaining and talking about C# markup extensions. So what's that, and what gives to you to create user interface in C# in a more easy way. Let's talk about that in the next 30 minutes probably, because what I want to do here, probably I don't have any specific sample prepared, but probably a good exercise is just create a very basic interface, like for example, I don't know, a calculator or a login page or something like that. Then create the same user interface using XAML, using C# and using this C# markup extension. I think that you will see very easy what is the main difference, and then I will love to know what is your feedback about this. And by the way, let me start with this: how many of you use XAML to create your user interface, and how many of you use C#? I would love to know that. If you want, you share what are you using to create your user interface in the chat, because yeah, I'm interested in know how many people use one another option. So let me close the previous project that was related with bindable layout and empty view. And now I'm going to create a new project, a blank forms application, and we are going to play with C# markup. So C# markup streaming, for example. I don't know. Okay, this is good. So let me see the chat. I prefer XAML, but I have used C# in the past. Homer Olana and Ravendon use XAML only. Good, interesting. So we have here an empty Xamarin.Forms project. The first thing that I'm going to do is just manage the Nugget package, search for updates. The latest stable version is 4.5, but I will use the pre-release to move to the 4.6 pre-4, where we included the C# markup extensions. Good. Now I'm going to create a folder to create the views. I was thinking about calculator and login, and I think that I'm going to create the login one because it's more easy. So probably we will have the 3 views created in, I don't know, 50-20 minutes more or less. So let's create the 3 files. This will be login XAML view. Then we will have a new file. In this case, we will use an C# class to create the login C# view. Then we will create the last one that will be login C# markup view. Okay, first thing, I will remove the created page by default main page because we will not use it. Definitely we will not use it. And we'll start by XAML. So I will use the login. Come on, login XAML view. I need to resolve this namespace. Let me clean a little bit this, and now let's move here. I hope that the font size will be nice to see it, because if not, just let me know and I can increase the font size. And the next thing that I'm going to do is just launch and compile and launch the application, because we are going to use, of course, a hot reload to create the UI. Okay, we have here the Android emulator with a beautiful empty view that we are going to start creating. We can use a stack layout and just set the list of items, or create a grid with different rows. So I will create a first row where we will put the logo of the application, a second one to use set the username, other one for the password, other one for the typical forgot password and all this stuff elements, and the last one, of course, for the sign-in or login button. So first of all, we create an image. I will not include any image. The only thing that I'm going to do is set a size of 100 and set a background color like gray, for example. Good. And the default value of grid row is 0, so this is not necessary, but let me include this. And will be aligned to the center. No, to the center. To the center. Okay. So this is enough. And now let's create 2 entries. The first one will be the username. So this will be grid row 1. This will be grid row 2. This is password, true, because in fact it's a password. this is Euclid, so let's set the row 8 to auto 8, the same for this one, and let's use something like the placeholder to just indicate that this is the username and this is the password. Nothing really complex until now. I want to use also visual to improve to use material in, you know, in the entries. And now I'm going to create a label with row 3. The test will be something like forgot password. So next things we need to, for example, font size micro, use text decorations to underline the test, and we'll move it to to the right. I don't like this too much. We can fix this very easy applying a padding like this, and this image must be also aligned to the center. Okay, we have mostly everything. The only thing that we still need to do is include a button that will be in the grid row 4. The text will be singing. Okay, the background color. Okay, let's set a background color to the page. So, for example, background color light gray. And now we can set a background color like white to the button. Let's apply some corner radius. Okay. Let's align to the center, and let's set a height of 60. Yeah, more or less. Okay, well, this was more or less a login screen. So 50 lines of code. Of course, if we want this to be more real, we need to create a view model. So let's create a new class that is login view model. We can create a bindable object to use allow to notify change from the view model to the UI. We can assign the binding contents in several ways. Of course, we can use set the binding contents here in the code behind, or we can also set from XAML. So binding context, login view, resolve. Yay, this is amazing. Every time that I auto resolve a namespace, I feel good. So now one string for the username, other one for the password. We need, of course, two properties. One of them will be the username one. And the other one will be the password. Property chain. Okay. Let me copy the property to create it in a quickly way. And we will need also a command, right? Will be sign in command. More or less. I need to resolve the system Windows input namespace and create this method. And well, that's all. We don't have any, of course, any web service or anything real. So the only thing that probably we can do is check if password and username is empty, but well, let's create a to-do, validate, sign in. For now it's enough, because what I want to show is how the bindings works in every case. So in XAML, probably all of you know that we can set the text binding to username, and the same will happen with the password text binding password mode. Two-way, and the only thing pending is the button we want to fire and execute a command that will be sign in command. That's all. We have our UI. I know that it's not, this must be auto too. Let's take a look if we can improve it quickly. Yeah, all this corner radius and all this stuff is a good recommendation, and if we always use this several times the same guidelines in the application to apply the same corner radius or colors, of course create resources like colors and styles and reuse all this stuff. In this case I will not use it because yeah, I will not reuse anywhere. I just want to create this UI. And now what we are going to do is comment this line and create a new one where we are going to use the the C# view. This is failing for now because this is not a content page. This is not a page. So let's create a content page. And now let's start writing C# code. So we can use different methods and organize all the UI in this way, but in this case I will keep it simple and will create all the stuff here in the constructor. Okay, let's start. So first thing, I'm going to create the main grid, this one, in C#. So grid, new grid, grid padding 12. The next thing that we are going to do is set the row definitions. I know that we get several rows, so the first one will be, we can include some comments if you want, will be the logo. This one will be username. This one will be the password, right? Password. This will be the forgot password row, and the last row will be used to set the button, sign in button. If I remember well, this row have an auto 8. In this case, in C#, as you know, probably we use the grid length enum with auto. And let me just copy and paste the same these other rows where we use exactly the same. Okay, at the end the content of the page will be the grid, and now let's create the rest of the elements of the UI. Let's start by the logo, that is an image. If I remember where we set an 8 and width, and also we align in the center, so layout option center, vertical layout option center, and we set also a background color with light gray or gray, not remember well. Let me check very quickly. So the background of the page is light gray and the image is using gray. So I miss here set the background color to light gray. Cool. Now this is gray, and what we need to do now is two things. The first one is include the image as children of the grid. That's easy. And the other step is set the row. Well, this in this case is not necessary because it's the default value, but okay, logo row 0. Now let's create very quickly the username. The username is an entry where the place order is username. Let me add it to the grid in the row 1. The same will happen with the password. This will be password, where the row will be 2. The place order is password true. Okay, so we can complete the UI or take a quickly look at the actual result, what we have created so far. Yeah, well, it's the expected content. Yay, it's the same as we have previously in XAML, but we still need to create the forgot label with, you know, the test was, I don't remember exactly, but forgot password. Let's move again to the C# view, forgot password, and we will set this in the grid row 3. Now we need to modify a couple of things. One of them is the text decorations that we will use the underline. We need the horizontal alignment to the end, layout options end, and I think that we was using the one of the device font size. Yeah, we was using the micro font size. So let's move here, and font size will be device. And as you probably know, device is a very important class in Xamarin.Forms because allow us to detect what is the flow direction, if we are using RTL or not, what is the current platform. Of course, probably you had to use it in XAML to customize the UI based on platform or on idiom if you are running the application on a phone or a tablet, but also include other important stuff like some system colors or some of the predefined font size. And in this case, we have the get name size, where we can get the name size micro, and the type of the control type of is a label. Okay, last thing, the sign in button, right? Sign in button is a button, of course. Let me see if I have a good memory, because I think that we set the test sign in, and then we set corner radius, we set a background color to white, and I don't remember more things, but let me check quickly now. So we have the sign in button, and will be in the line 4. Let me check the XAML. Yeah, we set the vertical alignment and the 8 too. So yeah, let me move very quickly here. Vertical alignment, layout options, center, and 860. If I launch now the application in the emulator, we must see exactly the same UI that we had before created with XAML. And yeah, exactly, we have the same UI. But we have important pending stuff here. Anyone in the chat know what's pending to have exactly the same that we have in XAML? We are missing the binding context. We are missing to set the binding context and of course the bindings in every property. So let's move here, and binding context will be the login view model. And now, how we set all the bindings in C#, where username, set binding, the binding property in this case is the label text property, and we want to bind it to, in this case, to the username. So the same is necessary to do in the password and in the button. Password, come on, password. Okay, enough. I think that everyone has captured this stuff. So until now we have created exactly the same login page in XAML and C#. I don't remember when we started, but probably we achieved that in 10 or 15 minutes. And now the main topic, that is what are the benefits, what are included in the C# markup extensions. We are going to copy the UI from the C# view. I'm going to paste in the C# markup. And now after resolve some main namespace, I'm going to refactor this view to use some of the extension methods and stuff included in the C# markup extensions. First of all, I want to refactor a little bit. All this stuff is very verbose, right? So I can create something like this is not necessary, but we can create an enum with instead of use that and set the element by index, we will use now values from this enum to easily remember things like the logo, the username, the password, forgot, and sign in. Cool. Now we are creating here this grid, and what I'm going to do is grid row definitions, and I'm going to use row define. This will require to include this namespace that, as you can see, is Xamarin.Forms .markup. All the stuff, all the extension methods included in this markup in these C# extensions is included in this namespace. So let me include this namespace, and now I can define something in this way. It's expecting the 8, as you can see. So let me try to create something like this. So row, the first row will be logo. Now what is expected is the grid length will be auto. Then I will create the second one. Well, I will copy to accelerate this process, but we need mainly 5 rows, right? The first one is not auto, it's the logo one. The bottom one is also not auto. And then the only thing that I need to set is the correct key, the correct name for every row. This is username, this is password, this is forgot, and this is sign in, right? So this is exactly the same like all these lines. We can just remove it, and then let's use more extension methods. For example, here we are adding and setting the row of the logo, and this case is also more interesting because we are setting the row, adding and setting the binding of the username. And what we can do is use extension methods like bind. Remember, namespace Xamarin.Forms.markup. And now what I'm going to do is the following. Let me save in a bar the view model, and now I can use bind to the this is the username, so bind to the username. This replies all this entry line, and there are also markup extension to set the for example in this case the row, so I can continue in this case row and expect an integer. But this is very interesting because if you remember, we created an enum. The only thing that I need to do is use this enum, and this is the username. So now I'm using something more familiar, more easy to remember than numbers. So in this case, I'm setting the username, and this replaces this line. So that's it. I can continue and replacing more stuff, and of course this grid can be created in a easier way. For example, we can not create the content in this way. We can just set the content to this grid, and we can do something like that. Are many chains, but will fail at the beginning, but well, it's easy to fix. We can set the row spacing, then set the row definitions, and then we need to set the children's, and the children will be, in this case, a new image. Let me align correctly. This is a new image. Of course, adding the children directly will avoid to set these lines. We can set the new entry in this way. And what's wrong? Bind. Well, let me continue. But yeah, then the entry, we need exactly the same like in the previous one. We need to set the binding, in this case to the password, and also the row will be the password. So we don't need anything of these lines. Then the forgot label, where we need to set the row to row forgot. Cool. And the last thing is the button, the sign in button. So let me include the sign in button. All this need to be aligned here. And for the button, the same. I need to set the binding. In this case, come on, bind to the view model sign in command, and we'll set the row the row to the row sign-in button. So we can just remove all these lines. This is corresponding to the content here. Now this is corresponding to the children, and this one is related with the content. So something like this. Okay. Any feedback? Let me take a look to the chat if I'm missing something. Well, this is failing. Yeah, because in this case we need to use something like this. Yeah, the same can be used in the case of properties, like here and here. But I think that that's all. As you can see, we have exactly the same UI using a more fluent style. And at the end, what we have is several methods, extension methods, to create in a easy way things like layout. For example, in this case with rows, play and manage all the stuff related with bindings. But there are also extension methods to manage all other things like gestures and other stuff. And to show you that, let me move to the spec. This is the spec created by Vincent. And well, here you can see some samples and all the stuff that I mentioned related with bindings. I'm taking a look to the chat, and yeah, David Ortino appears to save me and remember me that I need to use name off. I read a little bit late, but thanks so much, David. And yeah, as I told, you can also include some gesture using more extension method, all the stuff related with layouts, RLTL. This is the NAMS conventions and stuff that we have created before in our sample, but of course you have all the stuff necessary to work with all the basic Xamarin.Forms functionality like styles, font, effects, and etc. So the only thing pending in this sample is tested. So let me move to the Xamarin.Forms application, and I'm going to just include a third main page line, but in this case using the C# markup view, and I will execute it in the same emulator. Boom! Something is failing somewhere, and what's happening? Well, I repeated today many times when I talked about all the previous stuff like expander, like preview button. Hey, we are releasing this in a preview, and for that we set and set and use the experimental flagging. All this functionality in this case happened the same. All this stuff has been released with the experimental flag. So to use it, you must to set the experimental flag. If you never have seen this error, it's very interesting because it explains exactly what you must to do, and the only thing that you must to do is copy this line and paste it in the startup of the native project. In this case, I will use only Android because I want to launch it quickly, but of course the same is necessary in the case of other platforms like iOS. Well, I know, nothing very beautiful, nothing very special, but what we have done in the last, I don't know, 20-30 minutes is create a login page. We started with XAML. I know that all you love XAML. We have here this 40, 50 lines. Of course, you can adjust and organize this in other ways. I want to just separate every property in new lines, but you can do something like this, and of course the line count will be lower, but yeah, not too bad. And then we move it to C#. We have more lines in C# because, yeah, in some case, like setting bindings or specifying the number of rows is a little bit verbose, and for that appears the markup extensions and extension methods to easily create in a simple way stuff like define the rows, like directly set the binding, specify the row, and all this stuff. I think that we can continue, and probably we can show other stuff related with these markup extensions, but I think that probably this is an interesting task for the streaming, maybe replicating a dribble design, and instead of use XAML, use C# to create UI. But for today, I think that this is enough to understand the main difference creating the UI in the different ways that we can use today in Xamarin.Forms. So I don't know what you think. I know that mostly a big number of many of you are using XAML to define your UIs, but let me know what you think about this stuff. And the C# markup extensions, as you have seen, is using the preview, the experimental flag. So that means that we are trying to continue improving it and pushing, and maybe, not sure, but maybe some of the method names and some part of the API can change a little bit to try to improve it. So, but for that we need your feedback. So yeah, anything that you want to share, remember that you can use the chat. And with this point, I think that I have reviewed all the main changes that we have included in the Xamarin.Forms 4.6 pre-4 preview. We have taken a look to the expander control. Let me remember very quickly with the shopping list demo. Remember, shopping list project, you can download it. We have taken a look to the ready button with all the main properties, all the stuff, all the events, etc. Then we have seen the very nice functionality related with themes, with app themes, where we can define themes and colors and stuff depending on the light and dark theme. And we have also events to be notified when the system theme has changed. Then we take a look to the bindable property, empty view included in the bindable layout. And the last thing that we have seen is the C# for markup that allow you to create the user interface in Xamarin.Forms in a more declarative style using C#. Of course, there are more stuff included in the version, mainly fixes, like, for example, some fixes in swipe view, fixes in expander, in shell, more fixes in carousel view, and other stuff. But I think that with this we have seen all the most important stuff included in this version. Let me see some comments. And Ravendon is asking the following. I would love to use the expander on the project I'm working, but there are some issues with the expander in collection view, especially in iOS. Is there any chance of getting the fix in upcoming release? Yes, I know what is the issue that you are talking about. Let me search very quickly to it. So if you want to know something about any control, what is the status, what are the main issues or the open issues with one specific control, we are using always different flags, and in this case using different labels. And in this case, using the expander label, you can see easily what are the main open issues. Recently, we fixed an issue with the force update size command that was never executed. And now I think that the issue that you are talking about is mainly this one, that is happening mainly in iOS, where expanding is opening and doing wrong stuff with the size and the alignment of the item header and the content. So this is open. I take a look some days ago and it is still not fixed, but yeah, we will try to continue improving upcoming versions and allow you to use the expander in collection view, of course. So with this, when I have remembered everything, what I want is just refresh your mind about everything that we have talked about. And if you have any question related with that, please, now is a good moment. And if not, let me start talking about what about next week. So if you know me, you probably know that I love the UI stuff. So in some streamings, I will not give the opportunity to choose what will be the topic. I will choose and pick one beautiful dribble design and we'll start replicating the UI in the same way that we have created this login screen. I mean, creating all the code in the streaming. But in other case, I want to talk about the different topics. I, for example, have some ideas now in mind that for me are very interesting because we included in the latest version. I'm talking about stuff like create application for Surfright Duo and talk about the two-pane view control included recently, or create adaptive UIs to use the same UI and adapt all the layouts and all the stuff to different form factors like tablet and phones and all this stuff using visual state barriers, state triggers, and all this stuff. But what I discovered from the last poll is that there are many topics that we can cover, and we have seen different ideas like, hey, talk about desktop support in Xamarin.Forms, hey, talk about the upcoming shapes functionality, or talk about behaviors. There are crazy amount of case that could be covered and we can solve using behaviors. So why not use one streaming to talk about behaviors? So if you have anything in mind that you want to talk about next week, please use the chat. Just write, I want to talk about, I don't know, triggers, and I will create a new poll this week, something like this one, where I will put the 2 or 3 options more repeated that I have seen on Twitter, I have seen in Twitch chat, or I have seen somewhere, and will allow you the option to choose. I repeat, sometimes I will not give you this option. I will just pick one beautiful design, we'll start with that. Or sometimes I will pick 2 designs and allow you to choose if you want to implement one of them. But I like this idea to allow you to choose what are the topics that you want to talk about in the streaming. So I will appreciate all your feedback in the channel. Please write if you want to talk about something, and if not, I will probably repeat state triggers because 30% of 124 votes are a big number of votes, and probably will pick some one of the topics that was suggested here, like create responsiveness UIs in Xamarin.Forms, or talk about desktop support, all this stuff. So I'm seeing in the chat a suggestion about animations. So, whoa, this is a very beautiful topic. I really love animations, and yeah, it's a good stuff to talk about. So yeah, we can include it. And with that, I think that we are close to the end. Thanks for following me. I hope that you have learned something. You have discovered something new included in the last version of Xamarin.Forms, or if you know about span RCs, you have discovered more about how it works, their properties or events or all this stuff. If not, at least I hope that I have entertainment during the last 1 hour and a half. That in this moment is also a good cause, and I'm happy with that. And I'm doing time to receive more suggestions in the chat, but I think that with that okay, tricks performance, yeah, tips and tricks about performance, for example. Yeah, it's another very good point to talk about. I will consider for coming streamings. And that's all. This is the end. This is my main idea. Repeat every Wednesday, probably every week at this time, during 1-2 hours. The exceptional case, 2 hours and a half or 3 hours as much, and do something like replicate an UI or talk about any specific topic, talk about latest functionality included and all this stuff. So thanks so much for joining today. It's the first time that I'm streaming from the Mac. I think that everything went pretty well. The previous one I always used Windows because I heard that OBS worked better on Windows, but I'm surprised because everything is working very nice. So thanks so much for all your time, and see you in next streaming. Have a good day, afternoon or night, and see you.